Welcome back to the verdict. We're back just keeping a tab on what will happen by 11. But as we may eventually just go ahead and see that, they're not that ready yet, because yesterday said the other day that they're going to go ahead and start collation by 11 at the National Collation Center. But as you can see there, that those are the chairs, but they don't have occupants in them. So I guess when that happens, we'll go over there and get you those results. So intermittently, we'll keep our checks on that and bring them to you as soon as they are set for us. But here in the studio, we've got Prof.Oyebode, Professor of International Law, as well as Iguabor, journalist, also keeping tabs on the elections. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on again today.
Okay, I'd like to begin with Prof. It was, you had a celebration yesterday. You know, I'm interested in that because, I mean, we're all aspiring. Yeah. 40 years in marriage, that is something. The first question I asked him is, how many election cycles has that been?
I can't remember.
At least 15.
But, you know, I was going to secondary school in 1959. I went to school in 1960. I was in Form 1. Wow. And 59 elections, we went through it as teenagers, young adults. And like I said on this program, when I was looking at the history of elections, it was conducted under the colonial administration. Then by 64, we had a new set of elections, and which cascaded into 1965, the Western elections, which ultimately ended in an impasse that brought the military to power. And that's in terms of what we've been through. But as a country, again, I feel saddened, deeply saddened, that we can't live out the reputation of being a nation of bunglers. We can't get anything right. Look at INEC. They said they will start their collation at 11. So we got up early enough from our homes in order to be here on time. And so the question of timing, which has been a problem for Nigerians, elections never start on time. In fact, hardly does anything start on time in this country. I hate the phrase African time or Nigerian time, but it starts from there, discipline. So I'm really uncomfortable with our reputation before the world, that we can't get a simple thing as elections right. So that is my first impression.
Well, wouldn't that also be a function of the humongous logistics that had to go into this, being the largest we've ever organized?
No, like Mr. Iguabor here was reminding us, India has more population, 1.1 billion. Shall I say, it's touted as the world's largest democracy. Yeah. And we don't have these hiccups that we are seeing. Look, we don't even know how many Nigerians there are, for starters. We guess estimates. But let us assume that we're 100 million. My friends, some of my friends who are into demography, they are not sure that we are 200 million. But I say if it's just 100 million, we could be better organized. It's like exams. When we were in the university conducting exams for students, they know the time of the exams, they are prepared, they drop their books on the floor before they come in. And some of us were very strict with time. So once they know the vigilator is going to come, and if they are still reading, they want to do some last-minute reading. You know, it's at the expense of their time. So the question of culture is something that we have to revisit. That things must happen when they're expected to happen. So I don't know the alibi that INEC is going to give today, because you see the empty chairs, and this is a national assignment. The world is watching. I saw the coverage of the verdict from all over the world. from Korea to China to UK to United States. I didn't hear of Australia, but I know there are Nigerians in Australia.
Yeah.
So the world is watching us. And what do you want the world to think of us? 11 o'clock, collation time, it's only China that is ready. INEC is not ready. So I think we have to ask the chairman of INEC. I am not asking for an apology, but I know they will explain that they had circumstances beyond their control, as we say in Nigeria, which is not good enough. And that spills on to the elections proper. The electoral officers are not ready. I saw one apologizing. I was impressed that he even apologized. I think the guy in VGC or somewhere. He said, first, I must apologize for coming late. You know, but how many times are we going to apologize for our feelings? You know, so I think it's not a good omen for the country.
Yeah, Mr. Iguabor, covering several elections, events, this is something journalists see almost on a regular basis with this scenario. But and does it appear to you as though we realize something is going on wrong and we need to correct it?
No, it doesn't appear so. I think that this is more of the more time we take, the more people believe we have done a thorough job, and I don't buy that. I mean, as I was just saying, if it results in every polling unit in the country has been declared and put out, stamped on the wall of each polling unit. As Professor Okoye said this morning, it is even easier for the political parties to know the result before INEC. So for me, it's a question of strategy and efforts. Because if I had to make any contribution to INEC, I would say those results that were declared in every polling unit will be our first layer of beliefs. If we have those results declared at the polling unit, it would then be a question of why are you bringing something different from what was declared in the polling unit, instead of engaging in fisticuffs and killing people and maiming people. And
What are the risks of the delays, in your view?
Well, they are right. These results don't get to the collation centers in some of the states early enough. Take Rivers, take Bayelsa, take I'm surprised that Borno will have results in spite of Boko Haram. It also happened in 2015. In point of fact, in 2015, more people voted in Borno State than some other states that didn't have any kinds of disability at all. But essentially, this is something we must do, whether today or tomorrow. We have to adopt technology. We just must vote, cast your ballot and go to work. And the ballot you have cast will be recorded nationwide, in wherever it is supposed to be recorded. So this question of counting and looking at this paper and that paper, for me, leaves plenty of room for manipulation.
Because this will ultimately begin with the legislation of the electoral process and possibly some relevant sections of it that needs to be amended. But Prof, do you, for instance, see, looking ahead to the next elections, because we had this discussion in 2015, and the consensus as at that time was that the way to go is electronic voting. But we've fallen short of that in 2019, 4 years later. Do you see us falling short of that again in 2023?
Well, I want to hold President Buhari to his promise that after this set of elections, he envisages that the new improved version of the Electoral Act will come into being. Electronic voting electronic transmission, such like Mr. Iguabor said, everyone should have a record of the voting from your cell phone, okay? Now the law says no one should announce or declare results except INEC. Yeah. I think we have to move away from that, because right now we are seeing all manner of results online from your phone. And again, I refer to Mr. Iguabor. He reminded us of 1993, that MKO Abiola empowered his agents with Thuraya phones and whatever. And as soon as the results were declared, MKO had information as to how he performed, because he was most of the failings and failures of our electoral system. I think it was G.T. Ogunye on this program that said the world is moving towards a paperless office.
Absolutely.
Okay, so, and it's already happening in certain offices. Even in the University of Lagos, the papers for Senate meetings are electronic.
But this particular process that involves using of the EC forms, it doesn't take away from the credibility of the process, does it?
No, it's like was said just now. It gives room for all manner of shenanigans. Okay, I'm not saying that INEC functionaries are devils, but the less bureaucracy you erect, then the better the sanctity of the verdict of the people spoke on Saturday. Monday morning, we're yet to have a discussion on the results. INEC promised that they were going to do the collation and maybe release some of these results for us to engage in analysis of the trend and political behavior of Nigerians. Now we are incapacitated, and it's not good enough.
Even the law doesn't allow exit polls for broadcast outfits.
No, well, it's not unique to Nigeria. Again, I refer to my experience in Madagascar. The Europeans, the European observers, they were agonizing over the lack of exit polls. That is normal, because, and then of course, if you are in Europe or you are in America, the media will be able to make projections from exit polls, and they do opinion polls and all sorts of things. They have an idea, however rough it is, of what will be the tendency, what is the trend. We are not yet into that. And you could see the situation. What I'm very angry about is the snatching of ballot boxes. People sacrificing their lives. For what? For a simple act of electing your next leaders. So it's a sad commentary on the state of the health of the nation.
Generally, how would you rate the whole process? I mean, Mr. Iguabor as well. Maybe I should begin with you, Mr. Iguabor. How would you rate the process so far all over Nigeria?
Yeah, for me, this election, particular election, has been very revealing. I mean, to the extent that the politicians now know that it is no longer their game, but the voters' game. I mean, that has been established very clearly. The enthusiasm, the consciousness, the level of consciousness. I mentioned the other day that this is an election in which everybody feels obliged to cast his ballot, except in extraneous circumstances. And that's what we have. I mean, it's actually a thing of shame to say that for Nigeria, the most populous black nation on earth, we cannot get any election right first time. And time after time, you spoke about template the other day of the 2015 election, and I said it becomes a template only to the extent that it succeeded. If it was if there were controversies, and you don't bring that kind of template, or you bring back the controversies. That's for me. But if you ask me, it will only get better It can only get better from now on, because once we cross a few more hurdles, like Prof said just now, of setting aside the right to announce results. The election results are already known. So coming to grab me would not change anything. Arresting people now, it's messing after that. Every polling unit recorded results in those units.
But the challenge about that is, yes, the results may be known to some extent, but even the law says no matter what you know, it is what has been announced that is the
That's
result.
what I'm saying. Between when those results have been announced at the polling units to the collation center and to final announcement, there's plenty of room for all kinds of atrocities. But if those units are tabulated, then we know the result.
You know the proposal.
Take Lagos State, for instance, sir. If results have been announced in every polling unit in Lagos State, tabulate them, and you have the result.
You know, the proposal was to go the way of transmitting of the transmitting the results, electronic transmission of the results. But we didn't get it quite clearly. If we had gone that route, would it be transmission of the results from the ward levels to the National Collation Center direct? Or will it have to go to the state or local government?
I don't have the details of how they intend to do that, but I think that the natural thing would be to transmit results from the polling units to the local government headquarters, and from local government